Hey everyone, my name is Bree. My pronouns are they, them, and today I'm here to help by sharing how I read tarot using Uno cards. A lot of people are usually really surprised when I tell them this, and then they are a little skeptical about it. And then they get the reading and they're like, holy shit, like, not only was that super on point, but it was also really fun. There are a whole bunch of reasons why I really enjoy using Uno cards for tarot readings, one of which is the accessibility. They're really financially accessible. You can get Uno cards pretty much anywhere for a super reasonable price. And they're also accessible in terms of like people's capacity for understanding tarot. Like a lot of people who are new to tarot will be afraid of certain cards, like the death card or the tower card, because the symbolism and the imagery on the card can be pretty scary. And so I find that doing tarot readings with Uno cards actually helps relieve a lot of people's fears and preconceived notions around tarot, which lends itself to a much better reading because the people who are getting the reading are like a lot more chill, and then they can become a lot more engaged and more invested in the reading and then receive a stronger reading. Another reason that I really like using Uno cards is because of my relationship to the Uno cards. So many of us who read tarot, we might have a variety of decks, but we always have like those particular decks that we just like really vibe with. I know I have that. I have countless tarot decks, but there are some that I just like am really like into and have a stronger relationship with than others. My relationship to Uno, I think, is actually stronger than my relationship presently with tarot because Uno has been in my life a hell of a lot longer than tarot has. I've had Uno cards in my life since childhood, whereas I've had tarot cards in my life since like my 20s. So just that duration and longevity of the relationship and my connection to it, like I always preferred playing Uno over other traditional playing card games. I actually find that it does improve my ability to read because I have this established relationship and now a continuously growing relationship with this deck. How I started reading Uno cards as tarot was actually kind of as a joke. I had already known that you could use traditional playing cards to read tarot, but I didn't actually think you could do it with Uno. And one day, me and my partner, we were playing Uno, and I was just like, LOL, like, let's try to read them as tarot the way I know you can read playing cards as tarot. And I didn't look anything up. I just kind of guessed what the colors translated to in terms of the suits. And lo and behold, not only was the reading not a joke, it was on point. It was also very fun. And the way I guessed that the colors interpreted to the suits were actually totally correct. I went to my guidebook later on and I checked the colors associated with the different suits, and boom, correct, done. So that's how I found out you can read Uno cards as tarot, and I've been doing it ever since. If you don't know, another reason why this is actually pretty cool is because it actually connects back to how tarot cards originated, which was that they were created as playing cards. It wasn't until later that tarot cards were utilized as a tool for divination. So I kind of feel like there's a stronger connection, even more so, knowing that I am using playing cards to read tarot, almost like flip flopped in the way they were originally intended. So, this is how we read Uno cards as tarot. What we're doing when we use Uno cards as tarot is we're mostly reading the minor arcana, which is all of the cards with a number that pertains to a suit. So we're reading the Ace of Pentacles, we're reading the Five of Wands, we're reading the Seven of Swords, we're reading the 10 of Cups. We're reading every card that has a number and a suit. What we are not reading is the court cards. So we do not have the page, the knight, the queen, or the king present in this deck. And we are not reading any of the major arcana, which are all of those cards that are like justice, the tower, the lovers, wheel of fortune, all of that stuff. What's unique about reading Uno cards to do a tarot reading, though, is we actually have extra cards like the reverse and the stop and stuff like that, that we get to assign a different intention to, which creates a completely new, unique tarot reading that you're not going to get with traditional tarot cards. So let's start with the minor arcana cards that we're reading in the Uno deck. Traditional tarot decks start with an ace and end with a 10. In an Uno deck, it starts with a 0 and ends with a 9. The way we shift that to translate into tarot is that the 0 is the 10 and the 1 is the ace. Otherwise, all the numbers are the same, and we are purely reading the numerology of these numbers that are present on the cards. Since there is no other symbolism on these cards, we are not reading into the interpretations of the symbolism that are present on traditional tarot decks. We are only reading and combining the interpretations of the numbers and the colors, which are suits. The way we translate the colors into suits is we have green. Green is pentacles. Red is wands. Blue is cups. And yellow is swords. Simple as that. Now to the additional Uno cards, the ones that are unique to Uno, and I like to call them the Uno Arcana. The way I read the Uno Arcana is with my own intention. So I will let you know the intention that I've applied to these different cards. But if you have your own intention that resonates when you look at the symbol on the card and you want to apply a different intention, by all means, go ahead. These are the intentions I've set for these Uno Arcana cards, and this is how I read them in a reading. So we've got the stop card. This one is pretty simple and true to what we think of when we look at a stop. I read the stop card as literally like a message to stop or to pause on whatever you're working on in this realm. So maybe it's a stop or a pause in terms of like you're moving too quickly in this realm. And so you might want to pump the brakes and make sure that you're spending more time in this realm, or maybe you've already rushed into something and it's suggesting that you need to stop and consider a different route. Then we've got the reverse. Again, pretty straightforward. I read the reverse as whatever realm we're reading on, like whatever suit we're reading on, when you get the reverse, it means it's time to like go back. It's time to revisit or reevaluate something in this realm. So if I were to take guidance from that, say we're looking at the cups. So this tends to speak a lot about emotions and or relationships of all types. I would be like, okay, if I'm getting the message to revisit or reevaluate something, where in my emotional world or in my world of relationships am I feeling a little out of balance? And then wherever I'm feeling out of balance in that realm is where I would start doing some reevaluation or revisiting. Then we've got the +2. This one is for me about having to do a little bit more work. It's different than a delay because a delay could just simply be the duration of time. Whereas when I get a +2, it's like you got to double down on like actually doing the emotional or physical work to achieve what it is you're seeking in this realm of wands. Then we got the wild card. I call the wild card the higher power card or the spirit card. And whatever that means to you is what it means. Even if you're not spiritual, whatever your spirit is full of or what fills your spirit, that can be reflected here as well. And the way I usually interpret this is one of two ways. I either find that it is about kind of surrendering to your higher power, to your spirituality, or to your spirit, in terms of like maybe there's an area in your life that is kind of consuming you, or you're being exhausted by how much work you're putting into it. And it's kind of like hands up, just let go and let the unseen forces kind of take the wheel for a moment while you can kind of reconfigure your strategy. Another way I read this is to let your higher power or your spirit in to whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So maybe you're like purely focused on your very human meat suit obligations in a certain respect. And it's like maybe open up that perception a little bit and let something else in to kind of help support you and guide you through this time. Regardless of the meaning that comes up for this card, I always read this also as a signal for balance. We've got all the colors, which means all the suits are represented on the wild card. And so I think it always signals that there's either a need for balance if somebody is feeling out of whack, or maybe it's a reversed card. And you can tell the card is reversed, even if it's like this doesn't look reversed either way, by the back of the card. Like if it's reversed, the Uno will be upside down. If this were reversed, I'd be like, maybe your balance is out of whack, and like do a pie chart, see where like all these realms of the suits, how much each one of them takes up space in your life. And if they're super like inconsistent and not balanced at all, then see where you can make those adjustments. And if you're not feeling out of whack, or it's not a reverse card, then maybe it's affirming the balance that you have in your life and encouraging you to maintain it. And then we've got the double whammy of the wild card +4. And this is pretty much just a combination of the +2 card and the wild card. So it's like maybe you need a lot of help. So not only do you need the help of your higher power, or you need to surrender to your spirituality, or you need to let your spirit in, but on a human level, there's also some work that you are accountable for. And all of this guidance is relevant and needed at this time. And then, of course, the message of balance, considering we've got all the colors, all the suits represented on this card. So that's how I do tarot readings with Uno cards. And I figured I'd give you a quick sample of how I might do a reading using these cards. So let's get my deck, shuffle these beebs up. I'm going to read the traditional like interpretations of the cards, but if you read tarot or you've ever gotten a tarot reading, you know that there's usually like some personal meaning associated. Like I love when people have dialogue with me during a reading, because then not only can I interpret it, but then I can apply it to their particular situation. So I guess we'll just see what message we all need to hear. The way I read is I will shuffle and then I split the deck, and then I start pulling from the top card. Ooh, I think this is a great card to pull, not only for me, but for anyone who's interested in doing tarot readings. We have the red 8. So this is the 8 of Wands. I love the number 8 in tarot. It's probably my favorite number in the tarot, because the number 8 is a power number. And that's actually like my goal for the year, or my intention for the year, is to step into my power. So when I pull this number, I feel like affirmed that I'm like on track for the intention that I set. It's all about stepping into your power. It's all about abundance. If you see the 8 turned to the side is like literally the infinity symbol. So it signifies abundance in the realm of wands. It also tends to suggest that you have exactly what you need to achieve what it is that your goal or intention is. Sometimes this gets interpreted very specifically as like organizational and managerial skills for financial success, but I think that's a little bit too specific. And so I take that to mean whatever it is you're seeking, and here it would probably apply to whatever you're seeking in the realm of wands, you already have within you what you need to achieve it. So you can rest assured that you already have what it takes, and it's just a matter of doing it. When we're also looking at the narrative arc of the numbers 1 through 10, 8 is kind of up there. So it's not quite the end of the cycle. It's almost like you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but you've definitely got some more to go. So that is where you are in terms of the cycle when you pull the 8. And then with the wands is fire energy. I love talking about and utilizing fire energy in my work because it's super effective, but it is not to be fucked around with. And we are to use fire energy very strategically, but it's very doable because I feel like fire is one of the few elements that we can control a little more. Like you can't really control air, but you can control fire. Like you can have a little candle flame or you can create a huge bonfire. And whichever way you go is the energy that you're going to put into it. Sometimes fire energy to me can represent anger. I'm not really vibing that right now. I think what's probably more relevant to wands is like fire energy in terms of passion and spirit. And like the wands is all about like self-expression, creativity, intuition, and spirituality, but more so in the sense of like the spirit within and like the things that really like fill your spirit, the things that you really, really give a shit about. And I tend to read it like that. Like it's a lot about like, what do you give a shit about and are you tending to it? I'd say with the 8, it's like step into your power in those areas that really fulfill you. And I also read it as like I really pull from the self expression aspect of it. And I vibe a lot with like how it is we put ourselves out there. How do we choose to put ourselves out there and be perceived? And also like acknowledging like how are we perceived regardless of whether we agree with it or we're choosing to be perceived that way. I think the information on both sides of that same coin is very valuable. So that would be the general interpretation for me for this card. If it were for a particular person who had a particular question, or if I had a particular question, I might have some slightly unique ideas about that as it would apply to me or the person I'm reading. But quickie little sample, that's how you read Uno cards as tarot. If you want a tarot reading using Uno cards with me, you can head on over to my website, which is breeishelpfulaf.com. Book a session with me doing Uno card tarot readings or cauldron magic, or if you're looking for the emotional support that I also provide, you can go over there and find out about peer counseling and consultation. If you don't want to book a session with me, that's totally cool. No hard feelings. There are a variety of ways you can still support me. You can like this video, you can share it with a friend, you could subscribe to my YouTube channel here. You could also follow me on Instagram at breeishelpfulaf. And you could also drop a couple bucks in my tip jar if you'd like on Venmo at breeishelpfulaf. Thanks for watching. Bye.